Hello friends, I'm Das Food, and in a recent video I talked about Resident Evil and how I feel like we've gotten enough chapters for Resident Evil, but one thing I also mentioned in that one is that I would be interested in potentially seeing more licensed chapters from already existing franchises, as in the ones we already have in the game. I wouldn't mind maybe some second chapters there, just like Resident Evil got. And there seemed to be some support for that in the comments, so I thought I would go through each licensed chapter that we currently have in Dead by Daylight before the year 8 anniversary, and I want to walk through and say, okay, what would a second licensed chapter look like? And we're going to go chronologically. This isn't ranking them in order of most desired to least desired or anything like that. I'm just going to go from when they were introduced to the game, and we're going to go until the most recent one. So we start with Halloween, and we end with Ringu. Even though, again, we're not covering a third Resident Evil one. Off the top of my head, I would say make it based off of Resi 7 or 8, because that's kind of a new era for the franchise. You can argue if you want the Bakers or Lady Dimitrescu more. That's up to you guys. But for my taste, we are going to start with Halloween, which was the very first licensed chapter the game ever received, which of course gave us The Shape, Michael Myers, Laurie Strode, and Lampkin Lane. So, a complete chapter, complete map, survivor, and killer. Obviously, if they were going to do a second Halloween chapter, you can't really not have Michael Myers. There is no other killer in the series, unless you count Season of the Witch, which it was a good movie, yeah, but I mean, I don't expect that to. How would you make that a Dead by Daylight killer? I don't think you could. So what I would ideally like to see would just be a second, a revamp of Halloween where we get new skins for Michael. Presumably we would get the 2018 Kills and Ends skins, but if I could have a bit of a personal preference in there, I would also like to see the Halloween 5 mask end up in there, because I think it's a pretty cool one that's actually fairly unique looking. He could also get new skins for his weapons, which we've already seen in the past with things like the crowbar and the screwdriver and all that. So what I would do is the syringe from Halloween 2 and the broken light bar from Halloween Kills, because those are both pretty gnarly weapons that I would not mind using in a hunt, As for Survivor, this one seems pretty easy. Just give us Dr. Loomis. Dr. Loomis is an icon of horror, and having him in the game would be fantastic, but if they wanted to, they could always go with a more recent character and give us somebody like Allison, or even, hey, by the way, Jamie Lloyd would be a great choice here. So you actually have a lot of options, and I would just say maybe legendary skins for some of them, brand new character for one of them. It would also be nice to get some skins that show Laurie over the years, and again, I know they don't have the likeness to Jamie Lee Curtis, but in the very least, I think it'd be cool to just get new skins for Laurie in general. Kind of do like Yoichi, just make up lore as you go, as long as you have the blessing of the copyright holders to do so. Regarding maps, I would say there's probably no need for another map in the Halloween setting. We already have Haddonfield. Where else are you gonna go? I mean, potentially somewhere like the hospital from Halloween 2 or something like that, but we already have a hospital map. I don't think we need a second one. After Halloween, we got Left 4 Dead, which was a surprising chapter, but a really cool one, and I'm really glad it happened. So, what did we get from it? Bill Overbeck. Just Bill Overbeck and some skins for the original 4 survivors, which, hey, that's more than I expected, so it's really cool. But let's go on and complete the set here. We should get skins, legendary skins, that can turn Bill into Ellis, Coach, Nick, Rochelle, Francis, Lewis, and Zoe. And I realize that there may be people who think it's weird because, we already have a Jake skin that, he's kind of cosplaying as Francis, and we have I think it's Claudette or Meg. One of them has the Zoe skin. I get that, but keep in mind we also have one where Fengmin is playing Jill Valentine, and Jill Valentine is also in the game, so I don't think that's out of the question. If they did want to make a full Left 4 Dead chapter, I would say go with the Hunter as the killer, because I think its power is pretty transferable to the game. I like the thought of it being able to pounce on you, and if your teammates don't get it off of you, or if there's some way you can't get it off of you within a set amount of time, you go down. That's kind of a cool concept, maybe too strong, I don't know. But either way, I feel like the Smoker is already in the game. We call it the Death Slinger. The Jockey is already in the game. We call it Victor. And the Spitter is plague adjacent, but could work on her own, even though I would rather some kind of acidic power be reserved for the Xenomorph, if possible. I'm not sure how you would bring a witch or tank to the game, but hey, be my guest. If you can make it work, that'd be cool too. And then any map from the games would really work. I mean, I think Left 4 Dead has quite a few iconic locations, but for my personal taste, I would love to see Dark Carnival or Hard Rain. Yeah, Hard Rain would probably bring some issues with it in terms of visibility, but damn, it would be pretty cool. And as for the carnival, we could finally kind of get more of a clown-centered map, because the one he got was more of an afterthought. It was much more nurse than clown, and they just get the one little, the Father Campbell's Chapel has the one little part dedicated to clown. So a carnival would be really cool. Of course, after that, we get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where we got Bubba, and later on we had 2 cosmetics for Bubba, and that's about it for what we got there. And what I would love to see would be a DLC focused on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, coming with Vanita Brock, Chop Top, and the family residents. I think that'd be great, especially if they could get legendary skins for Lieutenant Enright and the Cook. That would be great. That's a slam dunk, very simple. I'd love to see it. It's not going to happen, of course, because of the Texas Chainsaw game, but I would love to see it. After that, we got Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's no secret that a lot of people were not extremely happy with this one, and it's kind of hard to blame them. But what did we get? We got Freddy, the Nightmare, Quentin, and Batham Elementary, which, whew, yo, I hate those maps. I hate them so much. So I'm going to go and tell you, no, we don't need more maps. That's going to be a very common theme with this. I don't have a ton of faith in Behavior's ability to construct maps, so unless the location is iconic, I'm just not that interested. As far as what we should get, this one is pretty easy. Just give us OG content and we'll be happy. So that means Robert Englund's Freddy, Nancy Thompson as a skin for Quentin, possibly as a new survivor, but really probably just as a skin for Quentin. And then also new skins for Quentin himself, not legendaries that turn him into somebody else, but new skins. Again, think about Yoichi, what they did with them. They took an existing character, they got the blessings from the copyright holder, and they made new lore and new situations where, okay, hey, here's a situation where he could be wearing this, that, or the other. Do that with Quentin, it'd be great. Quentin mains deserve new skins. And then once we finished up with Nightmare on Elm Street, we were given a really cool one that, I mean, my goodness, it doesn't get much better than this. We got Saw, and this was right before I started playing the game, so I can only imagine how exciting that must have been for everyone. But yeah, what we got was Amanda Young / The Pig, who, by the way, has gotten a pretty healthy 4 cosmetics after the fact, as well as David Tapp, who also got 4 cosmetics, and then the Gideon Meat Plant, which a lot of people hate, but it's arguably my favorite map. I really like it, unless I'm facing a nurse, and then I want to die. As far as what we should get in a second Saw chapter, I would say give us John Kramer and Hoffman as skins for the Pig, even though they would have to remodel it, especially for Hoffman, because yeah, you'd have to make him male for both, but really in the case of Hoffman, I mean, you got to give him that John Cena build that he has. He is a large human being, but they could make that work. Survivor-wise, I absolutely demand Detective Carey. I will not rest until we get Detective Carey and she can get the justice that the movies never gave her. It would also be nice to see Dr. Gordon, and since he's become such a meme, thanks largely to James A. Janice, I say we can throw slow-ass motherfucking Jeff in there too. No new maps needed. I just don't think there's really anywhere else super iconic from the Saw series that we would need to cover. Next, we have Ash vs. Evil Dead, and one thing I really want to highlight here is what we have is Ash vs. Evil Dead, not Evil Dead. Those are 2 different properties in their own right. So if we were going to get a second Ash vs. Evil Dead chapter, what would we be looking at here? Well, the first time out, all we got was Ash Williams, and I say all we got, look, he's one of my favorite characters in the history of fiction. I think he's great. I love that he's here. And we even have 4 cosmetics for him. The newest one bringing Ashy Slashy to the game. That's awesome. So how do you add on to that? How do you make it even better? Well, more Ash skins would be great. But especially legendary sets that turn him into Pablo, Kelly, Ruby, and Amanda. I think that would be fantastic. And if you wanted to go the route of doing a full chapter, Eligos would be really just the easy choice for the killer here. Awesome design, really cool killer. Granted, there is some level of like, okay, well, there's a lot of lightning involved. The doctor uses lightning. You know, killers don't want to be stepping on other killers' toes, but let's be real, it does happen all the time. I don't know, there are quite a few quality monsters in Evil Dead. You could go with any of them, but my personal choice would be Eligos. I would also consider Evil Ash to be an acceptable choice for killer, but he might actually work better as a night skin, you know, a legendary night skin. So I think that would probably be the best way to get him in the game, but he would definitely need some voice lines, kind of like William Birkin got on The Blight. As for maps, I'd love to see something grand like Castle Kandar, or something humorous like something with Jacksonville or a trailer park. Either option there would be really, really funny, and I'd be extremely excited for this chapter. Next, we got Ghostface, which again is not Scream, it is Ghostface. So what do we have? Ghostface. What do we have with Ghostface? We have a ton of cosmetics. So what should we give? We got a second quote-unquote chapter here. Look, I would say I'd love for Fun World to keep supplying cosmetics, but I think that if we're going to do this one, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to cheat, I'm sorry, but hey, I guess my video, my rules. And we're going to go for a proper Scream chapter. which would be Sidney Prescott as Survivor, Dewey, Gale, Sam, and Jenna Ortega. I mean, Tara as Skins. Stumacher's house would be a fun map, but they would need to take some creative license to make it work in DBD. And by the way, this is just a little thing, but if you're gonna do it, give me red right hand menu music, please. It is permanently ingrained in my mind as part of the series, and it needs to be there. Next, we get a kind of sad case, that being the case of Stranger Things, which initially... So the way I kind of charted this out is what we have, and on this part of the notes, I had to put what we had, and yes, a single tear rolled off into my coffee as I wrote it. So what we had was Demogorgon, Steve Harrington, Nancy Wheeler, and the Hawkins lab map. Now, granted, all those but the lab are still technically in the game, but you get my point. What should we get? Well, I've actually made a video talking about this before, so I would ideally like to have Vecna as a killer if we were going to do a second chapter with Hopper and Joyce as the survivors. Bring back the lab map, and you don't really have to add a new map, unless you want to do a really cool one in the Upside Down, which I would generally be in favor of. I think they could do something cool with that. And then you could also have legendary skins for Eddie and Robin, which I think, oh my gosh, can you imagine how many Eddie and Robins you'd see? It would be incredible. This is one of those things where this would be the coolest one, because not only would you be getting a second chapter, but you'd be getting the first chapter back, which would just make it happen, Netflix. Come on, guys, this is not that hard. Next, we have Silent Hill, which was the most shocking license I think the game could have ever gotten. I just never thought it would happen, and I think it's so cool that it did. So I am admittedly a Silent Hill neophyte, so you're gonna have to forgive me for my rather uninformed opinions here, but let's talk about what I do know. What did we get? We got Pyramid Head, the Executioner, and 3 cosmetics for him. My favorite is the melting cheese one. We also got Cheryl Mason. Alternate characters were later added with James, Sybil, Alyssa, and Lisa. And then we had a map for Midwich Elementary, which is also one of the best they've ever added. It's a fantastic map, especially as a clown main, because you can't dodge my bottles in a narrow hallway. It's neat. As far as what we should get with new content, I would just say let's get some legendary skins up in here. Nurse skin for the nurse. Twin victim skin for the Dredge, not for the twins, and then a butcher skin for Pyramid Head. I think that would be really cool. And then for survivors, I would actually say instead of just legendary skins, give us a new character. Give us Harry Mason. Harry Mason is apparently, after doing some research, a very beloved character by much of the fandom, and I think he would probably be welcomed in Creed style with arms wide open, right? This would be great. We could also get legendary skins for Travis Grady, Murphy Pendleton, and Alex Shepard. And I realize there may be some who balk at that and say they don't really like Murphy or Alex, but keep in mind, we do kind of want to appeal to people who maybe their first experience was on the 360, so they might recognize those two characters. If you're going to do a map, I would say generally speaking, hospitals and jails seem to be kind of popular, but I would say we don't need a second hospital. And as for jail, I would really like them to save that for the day when they add some kind of killer like the warden or the jailer or whatever, because I think that's probably a better use of that, but their choice. After Silent Hill, we got Resident Evil, and again, I've already talked about that one. We have Nemesis, Wesker, Jill, Leon, Ada, Rebecca, the RPD maps, and legendary skins for Sheva, Chris, Claire, and Carlos. Like I said, if they absolutely must make a new Resident Evil chapter, just go with the series' current era, right? That's all it is. Give us something from Biohazard or Village. And by the way, I always get this a lot. Yes, when I say give us like Jack Baker or Lady D, I always get people who say, oh, well, Lady Dimitrescu is not the main antagonist. And to that, I would say yes. That's true. She's not the main antagonist, but she is the ultimate baddie, so I think she applies here. We could also get a new character, that being in the form of the charisma black hole that is Ethan Winters, and then we could get legendary skins for Billy Cohn, Mr. X, and Barry Burton. Maybe even Zoe Baker. I would be kind of excited to see that, but I don't know if anybody else would. A new map from Resident Evil 8's titular village would be awesome as well, because the aesthetics of that are just really cool. But they could also go with something from Resi 4, because I kind of like that aesthetic too. Basically what I'm saying is give us a village, right? You could put it in the Hags room, it'd be great. After that, we got Hellraiser, and when it comes to Hellraiser, we got Pinhead and Chatterer, and that was about it. Ironically, Chatterer, that skin, costs more than the entire Pinhead DLC, so man, they have streamlined the money-making process, haven't they? But what we should get this second time around, pretty simple. Just give us Butterball and female Cenobite, maybe even female Pinhead, if the new movie turns out to be any good. Julia from Hellraiser 2 would be awesome, and then I'd be really hyped to see Kirsty Cotton get added as a survivor. If they want to do a map, they could do something really creative and really cool with the Labyrinth from Hellraiser 2, from Hellbound Hellraiser 2. I think that one, you know, you would need to take some liberties again, but I think that could be really cool if they play it up right. But I can already hear the people saying, I'm trying to find a hook. but I'm in a labyrinth. so maybe don't do it, but it is a fun thought. Lastly, we got Ringu, and this one to me is pretty simple because there's just not a ton of areas they could go with this. So what we have is Sadako and Yoichi, and what we should get, yeah, I don't know. There's not really a whole lot to add besides new skins for the existing characters. And for my personal taste, I would say maybe add a Samara skin from the American version, which was obviously way more popular in the West. But, I mean, obviously the issue there is that it would look extremely similar to Sadako, just a little grimier, a little dirtier, but outside of that, they're very close. They resemble very closely. But either way, no matter how you feel about that, that's going to do it for me. That is the video. Please let me know down below if they added a second chapter for an existing license. What would you like to see them add? Which chapter do you think deserves a second license the most? Are my ideas good? Are they bad? You know, let me know. I try to take feedback as it comes. So either way, thank you so much for watching my video. Hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are. And until next time, I've been Ghostface. Bye, friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my